The Kennedy Assassination, What the Warren Commission Got Wrong. At 12:30 p.m. on November 22, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was shot while riding in a motorcade through Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas. He was struck by 2 bullets and pronounced dead at Parkland Memorial Hospital at 1:00 p.m. Texas Governor John Connally, riding in the same limousine, was also shot and survived. Within 90 minutes of the shooting, a 24-year-old former Marine named Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested at a Dallas movie theater. 2 days later, Oswald was shot and killed in the Dallas Police Headquarters basement by nightclub owner Jack Ruby, as Oswald was being transferred to the county jail. The Warren Commission was established by President Johnson 10 days after the assassination to investigate and report to the American public. Over 10 months, it took testimony from 552 witnesses and produced an 888-page report concluding that Oswald had acted alone and that there was no evidence of a domestic or foreign conspiracy. The single bullet theory, the conclusion that one bullet had passed through both Kennedy and Connally and caused 7 wounds, was the most controversial element of the report and has been disputed by medical and ballistics experts ever since. Problems with the Warren Commission's conclusions have been documented by researchers, medical examiners, and investigators for 6 decades. The autopsy of President Kennedy was conducted at Bethesda Naval Hospital by military pathologists with limited forensic expertise, and the findings have been disputed on technical grounds. The chain of custody for the bullet evidence has gaps. The original brain tissue from the autopsy has disappeared from the National Archives. Some witnesses have changed their accounts. The Zapruder film, the home movie that captured the assassination, shows Kennedy's head jerking backward and to the left after the fatal shot, inconsistent with a shot from the Texas School Book Depository behind and above. In 1979, the House Select Committee on Assassinations released its own findings after a 2-year investigation. It concluded, based on acoustic evidence suggesting 4 shots were fired in Dealey Plaza, not 3 as the Warren Commission found, that Kennedy was probably killed as the result of a conspiracy. The acoustic evidence was later reanalyzed and disputed. The committee also found that the CIA and FBI had withheld information from the Warren Commission. The 1979 conclusion that there was probably a conspiracy is the U.S. government's most recent official position on the assassination. Classified documents are a persistent problem for any definitive conclusion. Under the JFK Records Act of 1992, the government was supposed to release all assassination-related documents by 2017. Multiple presidents have extended the deadline, citing national security concerns. As of 2025, thousands of documents remain partially or fully classified, primarily from the CIA. The justification for continued classification 60 years after the event, when everyone involved is dead, has been widely questioned. What the CIA is still protecting, and why, is one of the most significant unanswered questions of the entire case. The main conspiracy theories for Kennedy's assassination focus on 3 potential actors. The CIA, possibly in collaboration with Cuban exile groups angered by the Bay of Pigs failure. The Mafia, potentially involving Santo Trafficante, Carlos Marcello, and Sam Giancana, all of whom had been targeted by Robert Kennedy's anti-organized crime efforts. And the Soviets or Cubans, motivated by assassination plots against Castro. Each theory has evidentiary support and significant problems. Oswald's connections to both pro-Castro and anti-Castro groups and his 6-week visit to the Soviet Union complicate all interpretations. Lee Harvey Oswald himself remains a profoundly ambiguous figure. He was a former Marine who defected to the Soviet Union in 1959, lived there for several years, returned to the U.S. in 1962, was involved in pro-Castro activism, traveled to Mexico City weeks before the assassination, and contacted both the Soviet and Cuban embassies there, and was shot dead before he could be tried or fully interrogated. His stated motive, if he had one, was never revealed. Jack Ruby's shooting of Oswald remains one of the most consequential acts in American political history, and Ruby's motive has been debated since the moment he pulled the trigger. On November 22, 1963, The President of the United States was shot and killed in broad daylight in front of hundreds of witnesses, in one of the most photographed moments in history, and 60 years later we cannot definitively say who did it or why. The government still has documents it will not fully release. The official position is that there was probably a conspiracy, but who conspired remains unestablished. The man accused of the shooting was killed before trial. The man who killed the accused was killed of cancer before he could reveal what he knew. Some questions are not mysteries. They are wounds, and this one is still open.